I moved from the military to actually professional fighting and open up a martial arts school. I had learned combat in the military. I'd taken some martial arts growing up, and I became a professional fighter. And if you're ever going to feel more pride and empowerment, it's professional fighting. It was all me. There was no, I'm the one training, I'm the one fighting, I'm the one in the ring, I'm the one. It's all I, full of pride. And that's what I felt is just this overwhelming sense of me. And then whatever speck was left on the road was completely gone. There really was no God. I had moved so far away from believing in any type of entity that there wasn't even the God of the Jewish people. It was there is nobody. It's just the world and science and nature and me. And look what I have accomplished and look what I've done. And I fought all of the guilt that I have felt my entire life in a ring. I took it out there. I said, I'm going to build myself as strong as I possibly can. Um, I had some rough parenting from my father growing up, who was no longer in my life. And I was going to take that out on the ring. And everything was, you know, an accident. It was happenstance. This is how I was born and raised. So I'm going to take it in my own control. And I just happened to be able to take a punch in a ring. And that's because my father would hit me when I was growing up and kind of put everything in that perspective. And I, man, did I cover myself with um, a whole lot of pride, and became bigger and bigger. And it's funny, my friends look at me and they go, "Your name is David, but you look like Goliath." Uh-huh. I
Oh,
am I'm
okay.
I'm 6'3", I'm 275 pounds. I'm a big guy. So I had
Right.
everything in the world to be prideful about, and kind of moved my life along that way, and then got into other careers and kept being a good person, really didn't get into trouble. I worked at nonprofits. I raised money for nonprofits. I was a quote unquote good person and as happy as can be, um, being ignorant to God's voice.
Yeah, just no need for God. It sounds like you were doing just fine on your own. Very,
Yep.
very independent, strong, obviously, as a man, able to conquer, able to win, able to work. It sounds like very successfully
Yep.
on your own. So what interrupted that? What disrupted that?
So I'll tell you the third time that Jesus came and knocked on my door. My mother had terminal cancer for 10 years. For 10 years, they were saying, hey, in 6 months, you might pass. And she did that for 10 years. And so there was no way to understand when she was going to actually pass away. And 2 weeks roughly before she passed away, she accepted Jesus Christ as her Lord and Savior. And it was, I mean, just out of the blue to me. Um, I didn't understand it. I couldn't. She was watching preachers on the TV. She just gave her life to Christ right at the end. And I thought it was bizarre. And then my brother married the daughter of a Baptist minister, gave his life to Christ, all
You
around the
wait, wait,
same.
wait, wait, wait. Your
Yes,
atheist brother?
yes. My atheist brother accepted Jesus, married the daughter of a Baptist minister, and went to church, and still to this day is all in for Jesus, just on fire for Jesus. It was the most bizarre series of events that to me seemingly happened within a month worth of time. And I couldn't understand it. And to this day, I don't know if I'll ever fully understand how God works and why he did all of that. But still at that time, I rejected God. I was like, well, my mom was dying, so she needed to hang on to something. And my brother, he needed to hang on to something as well, and fell in love with somebody that just happened to be the daughter of a Baptist minister. And I put it as very situational. And I still know I'm still the one who knows, and you guys are crazy. And that's really how I lived. For man, it probably was another 6 years. It was probably 6 years after that. I was still an atheist, and they were nuts. And I was completely content in my brother would have conversations about Christ with me. I'm going, you're crazy. And I shut him down. We can't talk about this anymore. I don't want to, this is not something I'm interested in. So he stopped talking to me about Jesus. And that was it. I just kind of lived my life like I said, the way I always did. I'm a good person and I'm happy and I'm doing well, and that's all there is to it. And then all of a sudden, I literally woke up one day and I don't know why. And I looked at my wife and I said, I think I want to go to church. And she was like, what are you talking about? And I said, I think I want to go to church. And you should know that my wife, and again, I wasn't religious. I didn't care who I married, was an Irish Catholic. And she goes, what do you mean you're going to go to church? And I said, I just feel like I woke up and I feel like there's a tug. I need to go to church.
Did your
So
wife practice? Did your wife practice her Catholicism? Or?
she no, she doesn't go to Catholic mass. She was not a practicing, yeah, Catholic. And so I looked up what local churches were by my house and I found one that was a couple blocks away. I didn't even know where they were. That was how far away I was from ever thinking about this. And
Well,
I
and can I
go
just
go for it.
interrupt you
Yeah,
for a
yeah.
moment because I'm still like curious why the sudden desire to go? I mean, was it a dream? Was it just something you've been thinking about? I mean, what do you think? I know you were nudged. It sounds like you
Yeah.
were nudged,
It was, yeah,
but
it was a nudge in a way that there was no dream of, hey, you need to go here. And there was no active searching before then. I literally woke up and I have to imagine that, obviously people get nudged in different ways. God just put it on my brain. You need to go to church, and I didn't hear a voice. There wasn't, thunder outside. It was just, I woke up out of the blue and said, I need to go to church. I just woke up and had this urge, and it wasn't one that I was willing to part with. It wasn't one where I was going, oh, maybe I'll think about it. It was, I woke up, I need to go to church. I need to look it up now and go right now. I didn't know that there were multiple services. I didn't know how church even worked. For a Jewish temple, you typically have to go become a member. You have to, pay for a seat for high holy days. There's a lot behind it. For church, I'm going, I don't even know if they want me there. I'm this old Jew who doesn't even believe in God. Like, am I even going to be accepted? All of these things ran through my brain, but none of it was a red flag. All of it was like, no, I need to go. And it was this just massive urge in me, as if you're taking a breath. I don't know why I breathe. I don't know why I need to inhale. There are moments I just inhale, and that was that moment. I need to go. I need to have this experience. So I looked up a local place and I went, and I entered in and they were wonderful. They greeted me. They had their greeters and they greeted me, and I didn't really know what I was doing. I told them I'd never been to church before. I don't know what to do. And they had a pastor come up to me and he kind of walked me through it and sat me in service and said, when we're done with service, we'll talk. And I'm sure a lot of people had this experience, but God spoke to me. And man, through that pastor, everything that pastor said on stage was towards me. And he talked about the heavenly father that loves you. And I had struggled for years with the love of my father that didn't love me. And I'm going, what do you mean there's a father that loves me? I didn't understand that. And he did this whole sermon on the love of the father for his children. And everything he said, I just needed to hear at that very moment. And it was the most clear I had ever felt in my entire life. There had never been a moment where I felt more clear, more heard, more loved. And when I stepped out, the pastor said, "Do you have a Bible?" I I'd never owned a Bible. I'd never owned one when I was, reading the Torah. I said no, and he handed me a Bible, and I didn't even know what to do with it. And he said, "Well, look, there are ways you can read the Bible." He said, "You can do this, you can do that." And he gave me all the different ways to study it and read it. And he prayed with me, and I left. And that week, I read the entire Bible, the whole thing cover to cover. And it wasn't something where somebody looks at me and goes, wow, how are you able to do that? It was the greatest thing I think I've ever experienced because I had known the Old Testament. I studied the Torah. This was the sequel that I never knew was even there. This was like watching all of your I don't know, favorite Harry Potter moments and going, wow, now I get to see the sequel of this. It was, I can't believe there was this whole other part of my faith that I knew nothing about. And I couldn't put it down. And I read and I read and I read. And when I was done with it, I had read it almost 3 times in the first 3 months
Are
that I had
you
the Bible,
talking about the New Testament, like
the
the
entire
Gospels and
Bible,
the entire Bible?
the
Okay, so you were able
entire.
to see part one and part two, I guess.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, I need to see what the word said. I needed to read why the Old Testament pointed to the New Testament. I needed to read about the New Testament and who this Jesus was. And every time I picked it up, it was just lesson after lesson after lesson touching me, going, this is all about God's testimony to us. And this is all about God. The whole Bible is God and his story, but it's this beautiful testimony of his people and what he wants out of us. And all of a sudden I went from this prideful guy, and not guilt. I didn't go to guilt. I went from this prideful guy to, I need to do better. I need to do better and be better and show God that it's not about being a good person. It's about being his person, the one that he created. And everything just came together for me.